Hey, Yuji and Kirito just found Alice. Adventure over. Oh wait, turns out Alice is a bitch. So what's up guys, Fox in here. Time for SAO Alicization episode 11. Really no surprise to see this much slower episode this week. And by the way, make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss out on videos from a hardcore SAO fan. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So yes, after training for 2 long years, what a surprise! Alice just comes Amazon ship straight to them. Poor Yuji and Kirito were even having doubts about Alice even being alive. But of course, unless you've been living under a rock like Patrick, and on top of that skip the SAO Alicization opening, you are already aware that Alice has been turned into some kind of knight figure. Yes, Alice is an integrity knight, one of the strongest. Which is why, I don't know what you're doing Yujiro, hands off, trying to touch a lady knight. Alice is about to do to you what Kirito just did to Raios. Better back off. Although not like it matters too much, Integrity Knight Alice is planning to execute their asses. After all, the taboo index is absolute. Anyway, off to the central cathedral. Finally, you get to meet Alice's own dragon pet Amayori. Really nice to finally meet her in the anime, although I did expect her to be more lighter in color. You know, something similar to the dragon from the first episode. As for Roni and Tisa's final cameo here, oh how nice, express delivery of Kirito and Yuji's blades. They did look like they were struggling with the sword's weight. Let me just mention here what got cut and changed from the light novel. Originally, Roni and Tise were struggling with the swords, except that their hands got all bloodied up with how much force they had to use to even bring up the damn things. It was so bad that by the time they got to Alice, you could see all this leakage of blood on the ground. But back to Alice. I always thought this whole scene was a little weird. Hey, can we return their weapons? Divine weapons. But of course, naturally Alice wasn't gonna give the taboo breakers their weapons. On the flip side, score! Alice just got some free loot. Time to take these babies back and melt them down. Alice could make herself a blue rose necklace and some night sky chopsticks. But seriously, do notice, Alice had no problem at all lifting their divine weapons up. Only one fricking hand too. Keep in mind that she was carrying 3 weapons total. This included her far superior sword too. Seriously, you don't want to mess with this, Alice. As for their final goodbyes, of course, Tisa was feeling bad about the whole situation. Whether she was at fault or not, they were involved in the process that led to their lives in the underworld being ruined forever. But hey, don't worry, I'm gonna become an integrity knight to rescue you, Yujiro. Good luck with that, sweetie. Roni on the other hand, oh, this girl is much more useful. She brought Kirito some lunch. Asuna, don't look. Although watch, Alice is gonna confiscate that too. She may even feed it to the dragon. Either way, sayonara poor Roni and Tise. Good luck living with that regret. By the way, right here, really quickly, let me mention a popular question I've seen. You will in fact see Roni and Tise again later. That'll be in the second half of Alicization. As for poor Kirito and Yujiro being hauled off by the dragon, hey, not at all what they expected, but turns out they got a one-way ticket ride to the Axion Church, which was similar to Alice herself years back. Although Yujiro and Kirito are much more fortunate. For starters, they're not some little small girl, and they got each other. They're also basically right next to the damn pillar anyway. I doubt their dragon ride was more than 10 minutes long. Poor Alice must have suffered like half a day at least. Anyway, let me go ahead and ask you, what do you think happened to the blonde knight Alice? Why is she a knight? Just go ahead and pause the video really quickly and post it below. You'll find out in a few weeks whether you were correct. Anyway, switching gears, back to the Ocean Turtle with the surprise Asuna cameo. So hell yes, Asuna returns. I'm super glad to get her point of view, if only briefly. And I bet a lot of you are too. I constantly get the question of when Asuna's gonna be back. So right here you have Asuna looking over Kirito. Once again it mirrors back to her situation back in season 1. Asuna would so badly like to log in and do something. And I wish she would. Although I should mention the difference here, is that Asuna logging in wouldn't really help Kirito recover any quicker. Otherwise she'd be all over that. Then, as for Mr. Robot here, what the hell? So you guys are building some Terminators on the Ocean Turtle too. I guess if you're already doing some questionable government secret crap, why not build some killer robots too? But really, the real reason for the simple looking robot is for Flocklight usage. A prototype anyway. It looks like Kiko here is getting way ahead of himself with the success of this project. As for something a little funny here, I do have to bring up Higa's lunch here. This hit a little too close to home. Oh, you're just gonna work here having a protein cookie and cream bar? Take a guess at what I had for breakfast today just editing this video. Although I'll just add that I had 2. Anyway, moving on to Rinko and Asuna. I really like how they're becoming real buddy-buddy here. Not really like they have a choice though. No internet or other friends. So I can't wait for that beach episode or these girls having this sleepover pillow fight. Oh wait, wrong series. As for Rinko and Asuna walking down the hall here, I feel like just focusing this is spoiler enough, so let me just mention what the novel said. Asuna here had her SAO senses tingling when passing these two. It was almost to the point that if Asuna was an SAO, she'd be ready to draw her weapon any second. So, switching back to the underworld. Hey, Yuji and Kirito have been given the best room in the dungeon. But hey, gotta stick them close together since the super empty dungeon may get full at any second. Great job right there. Right here for Yuji, no surprise at all to see this guy still shocked from the events from like 2 days ago. Kirito on the other hand is completely following his motto of staying cool. Stay cool? Kirito must be like, frack that guy, he killed my flowers. I always wanted revenge and this was just a perfect excuse for me to slice him up in half. Right here, let me go ahead and add Kirito's thoughts that got cut out. Kirito was certain that Ryos would have survived that quote-unquote non-fatal wound. Unfortunately, his own mental state led to his flock-like collapsing. Kirito then thought that if he started feeling bad for Ryos, he'd be dishonoring the goblins that he killed years back. After all, that goblin leader was much tougher than Ryos ever was. Perhaps better looking too. As for their discussion here regarding the Integrity Knight Alice, they brought up Alice potentially having her memories or mind controlled. The truth to this is a huge spoiler for the season, so keep wondering. Kirito then brings up some other interesting event, that shining girl spirit from 2 years back in the ice cave, which is really another juicy mystery waiting to be revealed. I'll just confirm that it was little blonde Alice. Anyway, getting into the duel's great escape. Nice to see Kirito actively trying to abuse the system. It was pretty much all he ever did back in SAO. Not that you saw almost any of that mentioned or displayed in the anime, unfortunately. So these chains and this whole dungeon dude got this life bar. Technically, you could Kool-Aid Man out of this hellhole if you wanted to. If only you were strong enough, something like an Integrity Knight. The one thing I will mention is that it seemed that Kirito made their grand escape seem way too easy. I guess the church didn't ever have to worry about this taboo breaker like Kirito in the past. But before them leaving, Yuji had to be ready to go against the church from here on. Forget about only going against the taboo index. You got about 30 or so Integrity Knights that you're about to piss off. One of them being a certain powerful blonde knight. Fortunately, Yuji was 100% ready, if only they had actual weapons. Better take one of those pillows with you. Next up, Yuji and Kirito on the run, those horrible criminals. Keep in mind that these guys are officially villains or bad guys in the eyes of everyone in the underworld. As for their little flower sightseeing, Yuji was surprised about the flowers here, but I don't know if the anime gave you the full impact. Let me expand on this. Besides the roses, there were about 4 or 5 other flowers here. These flowers had some of the highest purity for sacred art usage. Even rich nobles were forbidden to grow them. You would actually rarely find them growing in the wild, but if you did find them, you could go ahead and sell them for a huge chunk of gold. Now look back at this church garden. These flowers are fully grown for the church's own usage. Next up, the other chat before them venturing deeper into the church. They did bring up the knights here and had a good discussion about them. I'll go ahead and hold back my comments regarding that stuff. One of the things I did love was Kirito teasing Yuji. Still great buddies as always. I'm predicting that you'll definitely see some people shipping these two, if they haven't already. Although Asuna would have Yuji for lunch before that happened. Then you got to talk about their journey's end. Sorry, way too early to talk about that. You're roughly a fourth of the way into this Alicization story. What was that saying about not counting your ice dragons before they hatched? Or something like that. Anyway, getting into the new Knight's intro. Say hello to Integrity Knight Eldry Synthesis 31. And my god did that cliffhanger give me freaking chills. Whether you got excited from that goblin fight from earlier, or you got disappointed from some of the academy fights, forget about that stuff. That's all boring compared to the Knight stuff coming up. I'm super excited that this roller coaster ride has finally started. Super hyped for next week. And by the way, I do gotta love Eldry here. Drinking wine on the job. So you found out that he recently became a knight. But don't let that fool you. He's far from the bottom of the list when it comes to Integrity Knights. Anyway, now let me get into some of the highlights of stuff cut from the novel. There's really only 2 things I want to mention. The first is regarding Asuna back on the Ocean Turtle. During the scene of her overlooking Kirito, she was thinking back to the older days of SAO and Kirito. Asuna thought back to the moments after a floor boss battle. She'd be extremely exhausted. Still, Kirito would be there to make some bad jokes and pull her hand forward. Then for the second highlight, Kirito in the cell. Kirito thought back to the days he was in prison on that floating castle Aincrad in the sky. Here, Kirito thought back to his packed schedule that he had to endure just to actually level up and gain maximum potential compared to everyone else. In SAO, he felt that he wasted no time at all. He would completely minimize sleeping in order to level up. Compared to SAO, he felt like these 2 years were much more carefree in the underworld. As for something else I do want to point out this episode is this little detail I loved. Notice the painting at the beginning. It went by so fast, you might have not even noticed. So here you have something related to the underworld. It's a familiar tale of the 3 goddesses battling the goddess of darkness, Vecta. This should be a familiar story known to everyone living in the underworld. It's nice that they have this here in the sparring ground. In fact, this will come up again because one of these things should be inside the Axiom Church. Right now, I do have an upcoming video planned for the underworld. I'll try to get that out this week. But anyway, more important, let me hear from you. Question of the day. What do you think happened to the blonde knight Alice? Why is she a knight? And why is she so cold to Kirito and Eugeo? Was anyone else super happy to see Asuna this episode? And who is hyped for the upcoming Integrity Night battles? Anyway, go ahead and smash that thumbs up and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, you could enjoy weekly SAO videos from a hardcore SAO fan. Unfortunately, YouTube did end up censoring my last video from last week. Go ahead and check out my video on that controversial SAO episode, and I'll see you guys later.